Oh. Hello, hey guys, how are you? It's me again, Tom. Well, I say again, it's been so long since I've uploaded a video again that I've actually sprouted a beard out of my face because it has been that long. So apologies for that. I'll quickly just say there might be a very good reason why I do find it so hard to stick to regular YouTube uploads, even though it's something that I really do want to get going. Basically, I saw my GP the other day and I've been referred to a ADHD adult specialist clinic to get a diagnosis to see if indeed I do have ADD or attention deficit disorder, which personally in my life and from my understanding of my life and looking back to my history back to childhood would explain fucking a great deal of many things, and also just my inability to focus and get things done for more than 5-10 minutes. Now I know as an INFJ, it's almost like the cognitive functioning of an INFJ is almost kind of the closest probably you can get to kind of the externalization of what ADHD looks like. And you could say, well, is it just not just a natural part of being an INFJ, you know, being in a dream world, finding it hard to be in the here and now because of having a weak extroverted sensation and all this kind of stuff. And yes, that is definitely completely plays a point, but I feel there's something that has even on top of that, maybe an even greater sense of distraction, inability to focus, and also this kind of, I have a lot of energy that I usually try and suppress, but it just will come out in impulsive ways otherwise, that really affects me as well. So it is a potential. Maybe it's not. I know everyone thinks I have ADHD these days with the internet and all the overload of information that bombards us, and of course that must be having an effect on our brains as well. But anyway, I'll see how it goes, and I'll let you know. It probably won't be for a few months before I can even get the diagnosis because it's going through the NHS, but we shall see. It might explain a lot, otherwise I'm just a lazy motherfucker. So that's over with. Now, I'm actually making this video for the second time because I just tried to make a video about this subject and it went on for 20 minutes and it's just far too long, really. I don't really expect anyone to sit down for 20 minutes and watch me go on about these kind of subjects, which is one reason that I really want to start a written blog, because sometimes a lot of what I want to talk about almost seems to be too much to contain in a short, snappy YouTube video. And I feel that writing, you know, again, as being an INFJ, I think would reflect greater my ability to get some of these things across to you guys that I think you might find very interesting. Now, I have a bit of aversion to technical things because it just makes my mind explode, and it's like, it can almost be too much for me sometimes. If I research things, I'll be on there all fucking day researching things. So if anyone has a suggestion for a good blogging, in terms of written blogging, website or platform you don't need to be a technical genius to set up, please let me know so I can get on to setting one up as soon as I possibly can. So thanks for that. If anyone knows, please let me know. So the subject I was talking about previously, before I decided to remake this video again, I'm conscious that I'm already talking a lot and the time is ticking, was about spirituality, and more specifically, I always have difficulty saying that word for some reason, achieving spirituality through the human experience. So what do I mean by that? Well, when a lot of us think about spirituality or think of it as actually a real attainable thing, not just wishy-washy thing that you just believe in, or just say you're part of some religion or whatever and you just leave it as there, I'm talking about something that you actually believe is a real attainable experience that is as real, if not more real, than what we see and feel every day. Now, I personally have had experiences that have convinced me that this is true, experiences that have literally blown my mind out of its brain, myself out of my own body, so I know where I stand on this. Yet, the way that a lot of us think about it, or a way it has been traditionally put out into society through generations, millennia, is these kind of traditions and techniques that are usually very hard to access, or they take a tremendous amount of dedication. You have to almost completely separate yourself from the human experience. You have to go to an ashram, you have to go to a monastery in the Himalayas. It's about a lifetime of meditation. It is about foregoing the human experience, not being a lay person. It's about giving up your possessions. It's about asceticism and not caving into your lower nature, your animal nature, your lower chakras, foregoing being celibate, not being married, not experiencing or going after material possessions, all this kind of stuff. Okay? Now, I'm starting to believe that whilst that must work for some people, and it obviously will, if you're at that point where you kind of feel, I'm done with life, I want to go and experience this nirvana, or I want to move on to the next levels of conscious experience, that's fine. But I'm starting to feel that, especially in this present day, the best way, and a way that can cause almost no disharmony amongst people, because you don't even have to bring the concept of spirituality into it, because it just makes normal sense anyway to people who even have no interest in spirituality or have no belief in it. Yet the actual process of doing this will have spiritual benefits, absolutely, because you are essentially doing what people train to do through meditation and things like this, but in more of a different manner. So what I'm talking about is achieving a degree of spiritual connection through the human experience, i.e. going through your emotions. So what that means is not denying anything about being a human being, not trying to escape the experience of being a human being, or trying to distance yourself from it. Realizing, yes, you have an ego, yes, you have a mind, yes, you have thoughts, yes, you have emotions, yes, you have all the emotions under the spectrum. You have love and compassion and laughter and all those things, but you also have hatred, you also have guilt, you have envy, you have self-loathing, you have anger, rage, all of the emotions. You have a sex drive, you have desires, you have compulsions, you have freaking fetishes, whatever it is. You have everything that comes with being a human being, and you don't try and push or repress any of it away. And the practice, or the work, if you want to call it that, is actually bringing all of this out, bringing all of this up, laying it on the table, seeing it, and then understanding why it's there, understanding what you need to do to utilize it, or what you need to do to allow it to kind of not block you anymore, and how to become a more integrated and whole human being, so you actually not only enjoy this life on this planet or this material reality much more, in terms of you can actually be the fullest expression of who you were born to be, and you can utilize your talents, you can utilize and go after things that you feel you're drawn to without having to feel guilty about it because you don't think they're spiritual. And you can do all this whilst at the same time starting to subconsciously and consciously develop a connection to something that you could term as being spiritual. Now, I'm saying this because for years I was in the former camp of believing that to be spiritual you had to almost cut your ties with human life, with your desires, with whatever it was that you might have in you that was drawing you towards human kind of experience, and that you had to transcend it, had to transcend your ego, had to transcend your desires, desire is suffering, and all this kind of stuff. Now, through realizing that for me that wasn't working, or realizing that I would have literally had to do it 100%, I now feel, through my personal experience, through doing shadow work and also doing it alongside other people, there is an incredible power in actually being real and authentic, and not treating those things that we have almost been taught subconsciously for millennia to be ashamed of, and to actually just get them out there, see them for what they are. And then it has such an incredible freeing effect, because basically what you're doing is you are starting to deconstruct your negative conditioning. And this conditioning can go back to your childhood, and it usually always does go back to your childhood, but it's also the greater conditioning of humanity. It's the conditioning of being socially conditioned. It's the conditioning of false and negative limiting beliefs that have come down from authority and from religions. They've played a huge part for the past hundreds of years, and actually developing a sense of love and compassion for your own humanity. Through doing this, you then develop a sense of love and compassion for other people. Through doing that, you then develop a sense of connection and oneness to other human beings. Through doing that, you then start to develop a sense of there being some kind of loving force that animates nearly everything, or what you could refer to as God, or spirituality, or source, or the divine, or whatever. And almost naturally, without having to read any spiritual text, without having to kind of give your energy to some kind of being that you're not even sure exists, you start to naturally develop a connection, a real connection to that which you are trying to seek, or which people are trying to seek through the more traditional routes of spiritual practices or religion. And I feel at this moment of time in my life especially that I think this is something that all people would benefit from doing. Because even if you do feel drawn towards spiritual practice or a religion or whatever, I still feel that if you can go through this process of seeing what's inside of you, it kind of just frees you. It frees you. It allows you to accept the human condition. It allows you to accept the fact that you are a human being and you are not perfect, and you are not some kind of God being, and you do have weaknesses, and you do have things that trip you up. And then you can go from, you might realize you're perfectly happy being a human and living out your human existence, and whatever you believe, whether you're going to get reincarnated 1,000 more times, you're cool with that. Or you realize, okay, now I've seen all this, now I've experienced this, now maybe I've allowed myself to go after some desires, or I've allowed myself to have a full experience of my own humanity. I still want something more. I still desire a greater connection with some overarching spiritual power. But what it will save you from is going down the route that you see so often when you hear about people, or you see people who say, I'm so spiritual, and they have this great kind of, they walk around and they think they're some great guru, and then you find out they have a terrible problem with anger, or they're gambling, or they get caught up in some sex scandal. The whole Catholic priests thing is a huge example of that. Or even if you're not have any interest in spirituality, but just in your normal life, you won't end up having these things trip you up. Say, I don't know, the President of the United States and Mr. Clinton and his sexual desire, because you don't see it as something that needs to be repressed, and because you have a handle on it yourself. Basically, this is called shadow work, and it is about discovering all of those things inside of you that usually lay hidden or repressed, either because of how you've been brought up, or because of the messages that you have seen from society saying what's acceptable. And just so you know, by the way, our society is completely fucked up. It is completely neurotic, and trying to align yourself to the beliefs of our society, for the most part, it will mess you up. And it is actually the underlying cause of why there is so much trouble and issues and problems on this planet. I'm not just saying our society, different societies have different issues around the world, but society and socialization in itself is quite possibly, and it is the number one cause of pretty much the majority of human fucked upness that plays out on the world today. Anyway, there we go. We're ending because this video is going to go on for too long otherwise. So thanks for watching. If you have related to anything I've said, I'm not even sure what I've said because I feel like I've just spouted it out, leave a comment, and hopefully I'll see you sooner rather than later. Peace out.